Hello and welcome to this episode of the Worship Band Builder podcast, where we are working with you to lay the foundation for skillful worship. I'm Eric Roberts. I'm joined by my lovely co-host in black, Emily Roberts.
Hello, everyone.
So today we are just here trying to do something. It's been a while. We missed a couple weeks. We had a cold.
Everybody had the cold.
And so we had a couple weeks where we were off, and I think we're about ready to get back on. I've been on live stream for hours today. Did a really good live stream earlier on mix critique, which was fun. So if you have a live stream church thing that you'd like me to do a critique on or just give my opinion, go ahead and send it to me, eric@worshiptheking.com. Send me a link, and I will do that on my live feeds.
That sounded so professional.
Oh, did it? Okay, well... I've got a new intro. I've got some different stuff. Also, new Premier membership. Everything is just $19 now on Worship the King. If you want to join, if you want to support the ministry and get some lessons, over 500 video lessons, all my obsessive video lessons on there, and some of my friends as well. It is at worshiptheking.com/join. And you know what? Ministry is hard. There's a lot of drama going up in ministry, a lot of hurt in ministry, and you know, it's hard because you have to deal with people, and you have to put up with people, and you have to put up with yourself, and you have to figure out how, especially in your home church, you get stuff going and you can't just leave.
Did you ever hear Steve Brown from Key Life Ministries?
I did hear. Wasn't he the real deep voiced?
Yes.
Like super deep voice.
Yes. I don't know where he is today, but I always loved listening to him. And he used to talk about people going to church was comparative to porcupines trying to hug each other in a windstorm.
That's a good
I think that's
comparison.
pretty close to right.
Porcupines hugging in a windstorm. Okay. That's what it feels like sometimes, I guess, in a windstorm. What would that be like? Is that because they're... I don't know. I'm trying to think about this. Porcupines in a windstorm?
They would be poking each other.
Oh, yeah.
It would be hard not to hurt each other.
Yeah, and it's like that in church, too, especially in worship ministry. And I follow some forums, and everybody's on there. Like, I don't have a lot of drama. And Emily said that's what this episode's going to be about today. How to avoid drama and hurt in worship ministry. And, you know, I've seen some people devastatingly hurt. I've seen people just flat out quit church like they're never going back because of worship ministry or pastors or just women's ministry or anything. I've seen this in my life. I have avoided up until this point. I just knocked on the desk. That
because
probably
that's
annoyed you.
very spiritual.
Yes.
Knocking on wood. It's in the Bible. Look it up.
That's how I avoided ministry pain, is I always knocked on wood. No, but I did avoid a lot of it because I just barreled through. I didn't care what people said about me. I was too young and stupid when I was in the early ministry. But I had a story from my past. My grandfather was a pastor. My dad was pretty much hurt in church, and I think I just made a decision. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna let people mess with me. And I just thought, I'm not doing this for them anyway. So early in my ministry, I mean, I had a one point, I had a deacon tell me I was arrogant something, I don't know, in a board meeting.
Yeah, I think it was jerk.
Arrogant jerk, maybe. Okay, so he was a much older deacon, but he called me an arrogant jerk. I was only 22. I probably was an arrogant jerk, actually, now that I look back of it and notice it. But
Possible.
I did not care what anybody was saying to me. I was called to do the ministry, and I was going to do it. I didn't mind.
Well, let's clarify by saying I didn't care what people were saying about me. What we mean is...
Yeah, let's make it more spiritual.
He was going to press on with the ministry regardless of how many times people wanted to hurt him.
Yeah, I just decided I'm not doing this for them necessarily. I'm not doing this for people. So if people were going to be mean or if things were going to change, I was just focused on God. But that's not, we have three ways we're going to talk about how to avoid hurt and drama.
Well, I don't think this is on the list.
This isn't on the list, no.
But that kind of determination should be on the list because people are going to hurt you. That's just part of being around other people, whether you're at church or whether you're in a club or whatever. You know, we're all human and we all make mistakes. And I don't know, not getting hurt when you're around other people seems like there's a slim chance of that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just the determination that you're doing this for the Lord. Hey, Peter from Arizona. This is one of our only live podcasts we've ever done. So we can say hi to Peter on the podcast.
Hi, Peter.
From Arizona. I just really wasn't doing ministry because I was saved in the woods on a hill in my backyard. I wasn't raised in church necessarily, like you would say raised. I mean, my parents took me to church, but it wasn't like we went to church every Sunday. It wasn't
Christmas and Easter,
yeah,
right?
I wasn't like a Sunday school kid. Like I did go to Sunday school, so it was like I was in and out. But when I became a Christian, it was much more organic. It wasn't at church or because of church, and so I had a little bit of a protection. I think if you're raised in the church and it's your whole world and you're saved at church, maybe, I don't know, that was you.
That was me.
Maybe it would be easier to get hurt by the church. Is that true?
No. I think what is true is that you are not easily ruffled. There's just not a lot that hurts your feelings.
That's true.
That's just who
rough
you are.
And tumbly, just gruff it, man.
He is able to let an awful lot roll off, where others of us are more sensitive. So, you know, if you know you're a sensitive person, then you need to be prepared to forgive.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about this. Oh, I know what's wrong. I'm turning your mic up and not mine. There. I keep thinking, man, her mic is loud, and I'm making these small adjustments because we're live. And now I'm like, oh, because I switched seats. We switched mics. What a great... I'm like, wow, she keeps getting louder and louder. So there, it's a little more balanced for you. That's true. Let's just... First of all, we're not doing this for ministry. Now we're going to get into 3 ways that you're going to try to not get hurt. Number 1, this isn't the number 1, but if you get hurt, just get back up and just keep going and keep your eyes on God. That's probably like the overall of this thing for me, because I was hurt. I mean, I've been kicked around a bit in ministry, and I've never thought about quitting ministry. Now, I did quit full-time ministry about 10 years ago, but God kind of told me, like, it's okay if you don't do full-time ministry.
Let's not say you quit full-time ministry. You quit working in the church.
Yes, I quit working.
But you transitioned into the online ministry that you have now.
I quit full-time pastoral staff ministry, worship leader staff ministry, and went into...
But we never quit going to church.
Right. And I always wanted to be able to serve at a capacity as a volunteer instead of having ministry be my full-time job, which was hard for me. And it probably would have been the end of my church if I kept pushing through. But I was able to realize at some point about 13 years ago that God kind of let me go from that, because I thought I was supposed to be a full-time paid church worship pastor. Not the case. And when I was able to reconcile that, I was able to now volunteer. So I do a lot of ministry, and I'm able to do it in a freedom that is something I always wanted to do. And I'm finally getting that. So... All right, so just don't quit church. We've never quit church because the church has hurt us. That's a key. That is a very common thing. And
Yes.
A lot of people just throw their hands up like, I'm done with this, forget it. All right, so we're not going to talk about that and all the friends. I mean, I have a lot of close friends and family members who have done that. All right, it is not good. I've seen the long-term effects. So 3 ways that you can, as a leader, worship team member, be involved in a worship ministry and avoid drama and hurt in worship. Number 1, and I'm going to talk to you as a leader. Number 1, set expectations and communicate them often. Okay? Just basic leadership skills. But one thing that bothers me about the overall church staff model is if you work in a corporate job,
Okay, yes.
you have manuals, you have expectations, you have bosses, you have, if you're in the military, you have protocol. There's some stuff you just don't do. There are rules. In ministry, it's like the Wild West out there. You get into church, I mean, I've had all kinds of pastors saying all kinds of weird stuff to me, and I've had pastors just get to know me for like a year, and then or less than a year, a couple weeks, they say they love me, but then they're my boss, and I'm like, well, does my boss love me? That's weird, because now whenever I do something he doesn't like, he scolds me, but I thought we were friends, and there's just all this weird stuff does not happen in corporate America.
No.
Okay. Also, letting people basically do their job poorly, letting them have all kinds of slide, stuff because they're a church leader. These pastors try to be kind or something, or they try to be like pastoral when really they need to be like your boss if you're going to be working in a church with them. If they're going to be your boss, they should act like a boss. So as a leader...
Okay, but we're not talking about the pastor's job here.
Right. We're talking about you as a worship leader. Set expectations and communicate them.
Now, the thing about this is you are working with volunteers. They are not paid employees, and so you can't act like I'm the boss, do what I say, or else. But all of the people are volunteering because they want to be there. They want to be a part of the worship ministry. So they're very willing, at least everybody that I've met, and we've been doing this for a while, has pretty much come in with the attitude that we're here to serve. And if that's true, then as long as you are clear about what you are asking them to do, then they're going to do that, but it's how you tell them, right? We just need to respect the fact that they are there serving willingly.
Yeah, and how to avoid drama and hurt is set expectations and communicate them often, like you were in a corporation where they say, here are the rules, here's how we do things. I think that you as a leader and a church leader need to set those things up. Here's the pitfall or the problem of not setting expectations is you have singers that come in and all of a sudden they say, well, I'm going to lead 3 songs every week. And you're like, well, wait a minute. That wasn't the expectation was that you were going to be the backup singer. And now they think they're the worship leader. All of this as a leader comes from not setting expectations and not communicating them, I think, up front really, really clearly and often, because that's what happens in the willy-nilly church world of volunteers and volunteer leaders. Things just get weird and people get really emotional. Then they think, oh, this is my church. I'm going to be the worship leader. I'm going to sing every week. And you're like, well, the expectation was that you were going to sing once a month. I'm just giving you scenarios where things get weird.
Absolutely. But I think you have to be confident enough to tell them what you want. You have to know what you want as the worship leader, and you have to tell them. And don't be afraid to hurt their feelings by telling them what the expectation is. I think that is the big fear as a worship leader is, well, we only wanted her to sing backups once a month, but she keeps showing up and we don't want to hurt her feelings. It's those kind of things.
This is the stuff that causes stuff to blow up later. And that's what, just be honest up front.
And the easiest way is to do it as soon as you come in. And now this may not be your situation. You may not be stepping into a new worship position, but ideally that is the time to, or soon after that, get to know people for a little while. Let them get comfortable with you and then let them know what your expectations are. But if that's not you, if you've been there for a while, it's okay to just have a meeting and say, here it is. Here are our goals for this year. This is where I want to see the worship team going. And don't be afraid to put it out there. Just do it in kindness, and you're the leader. They will follow that.
Yeah, and so Peter asked, is there a template of expectations, kind of generic for worship leaders, can be used as a starting point? That's a good point. Yeah. And also, it's hard because I think every church is so different, and I think you, even if you just sat down and wrote a one-page thing, and I talk about that, Peter, in Worship Foundations leadership training. We talk a lot about vision in that first. What do you see for your team? And so I think that once you as a leader kind of create that, and I'll look at maybe putting some of my thoughts, and in Worship Leader Foundations, I give a lot of things. I think I do have a worship band commitment sheet. So it's just a commitment, like I'll commit to these things, being on time and things like that. So I do have that, and that's available in Foundations. But every church is so different, and everybody, I notice like some things I would say, other worship leaders would say, I would never say that to people. I wouldn't put it like that. I would put it like this. Everybody as a leader is going to be different. They're going to want to lead different. So, but the key is absolutely think of what you see in your vision for your church, put it on paper, give it to everybody. I love to give people papers like, here's what I'm doing. In fact, when I signed up to be the youth worship director at our church, Seth gave me like the next week, like a worship leader expectation.
Seth is the youth leader, and he asked Eric to lead worship for the youth, or really train the youth worship band.
Right. And so I said, yeah. And I was like, whatever. And I thought it was going to be just that. And then he gave me a whole like list of expectations. And I was like, oh, this is what Seth expects. And Seth is I like that he's very detailed, and he's building his team, but he's also building it with paperwork. And that's good. Some people are going to look at that and read it one time and throw it away. Some people are going to live by that paper, and they're going to say, if I'm doing this, then I'm doing what's right. Set expectations and repeat them often, and change them every 6 months if you want to. As long as you're moving forward, change them or update them. Create, I know that when we talk about the God-inspired circle in our Foundations leadership training, we talk about, envisioning and then measuring and then growing and then envisioning and measuring and redoing. So you're going in a circle always, and you're kind of refining. So I should say, don't change them, refine them.
Refine, but really, if you're talking about expectations on the team members, those things are going to pretty much stay the same. Your vision for expanding the team or improving on things may change a little bit here and there, but what they need to do, show up, be practiced before you get there, have all your equipment ready before we start practice. Those kind of things are going to remain the same. Yeah,
I think they're going to change, but that's just and I'll explain. So we'll keep going on this.
Please do, because you're losing me.
What's going to happen is you're going to set an expectation like this. Okay, some of that basic stuff is never going to change. But as soon as when you set expectations and start growing, then you're going to realize, oh, well, we never really expected, like right now, our team is growing strongly, and we don't really expect our sound guys to be at practice for many years. And now we're moving into a time where things are getting more complicated. We're getting more people. So the expectation is changing that now the sound team is going to be required to come to some practice times. So as you get better, you're going to go back and go, well, I really do think that it would be better if this and this and this was, because I feel like we always set expectations kind of low when we're working with volunteers in general. We kind of think
that's true.
We don't want them all to have to come. And so we kind of give, I'm saying that happens. Well, the drummers don't have to be there till later. And we just give all these little, but as the team gets better, team grows, which is the key. You're going to be like, well, really, the drummer really should play to a click track, and he really should be here at least an hour ahead. So that's what I mean is going to change. Some of the stuff's not going to change.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I get it now that I know what you're talking about.
All right, so let's go on, because we gotta move this thing. Let's move this thing. Number 2, a little more maybe spiritual be slow to anger. So this is a scripture that popped across my Facebook feed last night, and I thought, wow, I almost did the whole podcast on this, but I didn't really know what to say. Other than this, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. So
that is easier for some of us than for others.
I put this in here because, in general, Emily was telling me, you haven't really had a ton of drama. And she said, because you're easygoing. And I'm like, yeah, because I will tell you, ministry brought out in me a lot of not easygoing moments. The most non-easygoing moments I've had have been in full-time ministry. But in general, I'm really laid back. And that's one of the reasons I moved out of that, because I noticed I'm getting really, cranky. I don't like myself like this. I need to chill out. But when you're talking to people, when you're dealing with people, I've noticed even now, slow to speak, right? Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. That is good. Just walk away, go home, do something else with your family, forget about it. There are going to be people you do not like in ministry. There are going to be people that rub you wrong. There are going to be things like, for me, it's always like, I want to get a little better, and I'm always pushing, and it's like even yourself is going to be bugging you. So just take it easy with people. I mean, and also as a leader, I think we forget that people are real. They just got off work. They have kids. They just got to practice. And if you're there like, what's wrong with you? Why are you late? How come you don't know all your parts? And you're just mad all the time. Then it's just chill out, basically. That scripture says that. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. You just have to chill. Proverbs 14:29. I think it's just saying chill out. These are people. They're your brothers and sisters. And you have to have unity. And I think as a leader, if you're freaking out all the time, then...
Read that verse again, please.
Yeah, Proverbs 14:29. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. So...
That's it's not the same verse, but there's another one that we taught our son that says, anger makes mistakes.
Yeah.
The wise man controls his temper. He knows that anger makes mistakes. And
yeah, and that's true. I don't get angry a lot, so
no, he really doesn't.
So it's hard for me to get.
But
I come from a really long line of super chill dudes.
That verse that you read to us in another version says, "A man with understanding is even tempered," and I think that it helps us to try to be understanding. We don't always understand. For instance, we have a friend that was a pastor for many, many years, and he could never understand people who weren't there every time the church doors were open, and he just felt like that was their duty, and how could they skip or, fail to show up.
Sunday night, Sunday morning, Wednesday night, every little time.
Yes, and they should just be there, and he was pretty critical of people that weren't showing up all the time until he stepped out of ministry and got a regular job. And, he had never had any other kind of job than being a pastor. So when he went and worked outside of church, then he understood. And he even apologized to friends from the church years later, and just let them know, I really had no understanding of what you were doing and how much it took for you to do your job and raise your family and come to church and serve. Yeah. So we need to try to look at our worship team, and if somebody's having an off night, try to put yourself in their shoes. Well, why are they behaving that way? There's got to be a reason, and just give them a little bit of grace.
Yeah, just listen. Just listen. Geez, I mean, that was hard for me. I'm like all about business. A lot of time when I get stuff done, I don't want to talk about a lot of emotional stuff. I just want to, get to jamming, get to doing the band thing. But I have had to really like look at some of my drummers. Well, I remember, and he would just say like, I can't do this every week. And I'm like, why not? And then okay, let's every other week then, or, and later I realized, wow, that's, once I had kids or one single kid, I was like, dude, I don't know how these guys ever came to practice. I mean, it's a lot of work to come to practice on, and right now I'm finding that out in my own place. Number 3, in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So Proverbs 24:6 is one of my favorite scriptures. Or by wise counsel you will wage your own war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. I don't understand people that just go their whole life and think that they know everything and do everything on their own, and they don't ever. I'm always thinking, I just need to run this by this guy that I know is a lot smarter than me. And it has served me well in ministry, in music, and all that, just to be able to go, I need some people around me. And even now in the position that I'm in as like a director of the media, it's a new kind of thing at our church. I'm like, but let's do this as a team. Let's get these guys who know a lot of stuff. Because even when you're a leader, a volunteer leader, it's like, well, if I make a decision and then it goes wrong, it's like, I'd rather just go a little slower, get a little more counsel, and then the church, we know when we make a decision, it's going to be a safe decision. In the multitude of counselors, there's safety.
I feel like things are getting better for people in the ministry and in leadership positions in general. For most of my growing up years, I just thought that teachers and pastors all had the right answers. They were just supposed to know everything and have all the right answers all of the time. But probably one of the best things that I ever learned from going to college, I graduated with my degree in education, and one of my professors said, you don't have to have all of the answers, and you shouldn't act like you have all of the answers if you don't. If a student comes to you and asks a question that you don't know the answer to, you say, I don't know, but we can look it up together. And that was just so freeing to realize that you don't have to have all the answers. And honestly, you can't have all of the answers, but if you act like you do, you're going to misguide people at points. There is a definite freedom in just being able to say, I don't know everything, but we can find out together.
Yeah, and I will throw in one last. This is a bonus to you guys. I had a ministry at a church for a while, and I had some what do I call them, sound guys that were kind of crankety, stinky. I had
strong-willed.
I had some strong-willed people, and there were a lot of ideas floating around, and I wanted to do it my way. I knew that that's one of my things. I know this is the way we need to do this. And these guys would be like, what about this? What about this? And I would say, well, why don't we just try it? And then if it doesn't work, we'll go back to the other way. They'd be like, okay, let's try it. Persuasion and just this simple trial. Let's give it a try for like 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, knowing that in my professional opinion and what I did, it's going to work. This is going to be the way it's going to be. We're going to do this. It's going to work. But instead of just barreling through and just, making everybody mad, I'd be like, let's just try this. And after about a year of that, they were like, okay, we know what that means.
They figured you out.
They figured it out. But once they tried it, they were like, yeah, that does work. And then they would just go along with it instead of just barreling through and doing it. So that was a bonus. And she's right. There is a lot of resources out there. One, I'm going to mention two. Number one, Facebook groups are out there, so you can get on Facebook groups, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration for our podcast lately. And also, you can go over to churchanswers.com and you can join for pastors. And there's some worship leaders on there too. A lot of pastors. They have a monthly group that you can be when you join churchanswers.com. it's a very safe place for pastors to talk, and because sometimes you can't talk to your congregation. You can't even talk to your staff members. You can't say what you feel, and you don't want to put that stuff on Facebook. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
I've seen some crazy stuff on Facebook. I'm like, do you know your pastor probably sees what you just put on there? Like, what should I do if this happens and so-and-so said this and my pastor did this? What do you think I should do? And I'm like, well, there you just spilled the whole beans there, y'all. So don't do that on Facebook. Go to churchanswers.com. That's a great place. And also, we've partnered with Church Answers to offer our Foundations bundle, which is all of our bundle. It's the best price you can get, and it is a very good bundle for all the training, guitar, vocals, drums, bass. You can get it all there at churchanswers.com in the Foundations All Access course. And it's
the worship leader, right?
And the worship leader foundations, yes. It's basically the whole bundle that Church Answers and the Tom Rainer Ministry there has put on their site and has partnered with us. And it is the best price at this moment that you can get every bundle, lifetime membership for all of our training. And it's at churchanswers.com. That is all we have for today. We're going to be here every day this week doing stuff. Remember, send me your live streams, because as we have gone crazy on live streams, we want to hear your live stream and help you get a little bit better. And you can also get training on that too at worshiptheking.com. So, any last words, Emily, about how to stay away from the drama and hurt in worship ministry?
Pray. Just stay close to the Lord.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Pray and just, it's you and God. It's like that song, me and God. Not totally like it.
Josh Turner.
Kind of like it. It isn't about people. It's about God. Have a relationship with Him. Know why you're even getting up on stage. And God will be with you. And He will give you, a strong ministry to glorify His name. That's the whole point. We will see you next time.